All aboard! Welcome to the All Aboard podcast. I am your host, Brandon DeFreitas, and I am here with everyone's favorite tank top guest, Ben. How are you?
Brandon, I'm doing great, man. Doing great on this Sunday snowy morning. It will never end. 60 degrees yesterday, snow today.
Super Bowl Sunday. It'd
Super
probably
Bowl
be
Sunday,
nicer to
baby.
be in LA right about now.
Yeah, I would say so. I agree with you there.
Well, I appreciate you joining. I know
Absolutely, man.
The league has been waiting a long time since you made a flurry of trades.
Yep.
Basically all within 3 days of the trade market opening again after the season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you stepped to the podium, you posted the menu,
That's
the
right.
menu was reposted. There
Yep.
was a bunch of trades.
Mhm.
So I think before we hop in and start discussing like each individual trade, which,
Yep.
by the way, for those out there, that's probably what we're going to be looking at for the agenda today. This is all going to be focused here.
Right.
What's your high level view of what was going on? Like, what was your thinking? What led to the menu and what started this whole flurry?
So if you remember before our trade deadline during the season, I made some moves to get people. I thought I could contend, and I think I could have done better if I didn't get hit with those injuries, right?
Agreed.
Like Ridley disappeared, right? Chris Godwin got hurt. Michael Gallup got hurt. I think I had other issues too. Bobby Woods. Like that's 4 guys.
Yeah, that's hard to overcome.
That's like that depth in my flex spots got demolished, right? So I was upset, but it was fine. This is fantasy. I then looked at my team and said, where am I going to be next year, right? Like how am I going to do? How am I going to do next year? And I'm just thinking in my head over and over again as I, watching everyone, playoffs unfold. And my thought was, I'm not going to contend. I'm not, or I'm going to be that middle ground. It's like in the NBA, right? Like you're going to be stuck in that middle ground where you don't do anything. You don't get good players because you're not high enough in the draft and you're not good enough to win it all. So I'm in that like Portland Trailblazer mold.
Oh no, it's the Boston Celtics.
Boston Celtics. You're right. In Boston Celtics mode. So it's like I didn't trust myself, and I was getting a little older, right, with some of these guys. So I wanted to get young.
Yeah.
And if you know this, and Jimmy knows this, but for everyone else, we used to play Madden franchise mode. And who else in the league did you do this with? That you did? Was it John B?
I've done it with Alex.
Okay, you've done.
Yeah, I think just Alex. Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, just Alex. So in Madden, when we had connected franchise, the biggest thing you don't want to get fired, right? But you got like 1 season of leash, and then you gather as many draft picks as possible because you just acquire all the first round picks you can and you just acquire talent. Now, Madden's much easier to draft than like real rookie drafts, not slam dunks.
Yeah.
However, I didn't want to be stuck holding the bag with those guys that I traded. Yeah. I didn't want to be stuck holding the bag, and I didn't want to be screwed because I have like Chris Godwin and Michael Gallup have ACL injuries, right? Mm-hmm. Who knows when they return during the year?
Right.
And Robert Woods is too. That's 3 guys with ACLs.
Yeah, brutal.
And so like I don't know when they're coming back. If they're ready for the year, as we all have seen, and recently it's been better for guys with ACLs, but in the past it took people a year, like a full year to feel better. But now it's like, little shot to the ass, take the 4-game suspension, whatever Edelman did, that's what I would.
And it varies too. I know David Bakhtiari never returned this year after an ACL, and like Saquon, like I part of the reason I drafted him is I was like, it's going to be a slow start, and I'm going to have the Saquon of old. Never showed up throughout the season, so there is an element of uncertainty still with the ACL tears.
It definitely is. So I'm worried about next year in terms of competing because those guys can't play. My depth just gets decimated, right? And I traded for older guys. Like I traded for Cordero Patterson. Brandon Cooks is like 28. So it's not that bad. But, I traded for Logan Thomas from TAM for like Quintus Cephas, just because he was supposed to come back and play, and then his hamstring just shot, done. I don't have a tight end.
Yeah.
So that was my philosophy. It was like, I'm getting old in certain spots. I have injuries that could impact me for next season and my depth. And I'm just not going to be able to beat ascending teams like you and Jimmy, or established teams like Edwin John, right?
Yeah.
And even Alex, right? Like,
so many studs.
there's just competition is rising, and I'm looking at my roster saying, you know what? Like I'm sorry, Tam, but it's gonna be me and you once again fighting and duking it out.
You know what I just realized as you went through that is like it wasn't just the 3 ACL tears. Logan Thomas was an ACL tear too.
Was it? What did he tear his ACL?
He did. Okay. Yep. And Calvin Ridley had the whole situation with the mental health during the season. So you lost upwards of 5 players throughout the season.
Oh, yeah. And
decimated the depth.
And everyone deals with injuries, right? But
yeah,
that's what killed me at the end, right? I had Gabriel Davis coming in at the very end, So I looked at my roster and said, okay, I have injuries, but I also have a young core, which I can rely on. Josh Allen, Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, Gabriel Davis. I'm forgetting somebody. But that's kind of like my core, whatever you want to call it. Even Gallup is pretty good. So I'm really trying to keep that core intact, trade away any non-necessary pieces, right? And that's how the menu came to be. I typed that out literally on the morning train into Boston, just pounding away on my phone. I told you and I told Jimmy, I said, I am selling. Like, even before the year ended, that's when I realized, okay, before the championship week, where John won, happy for John, I realized I'm going to sell. And I'm going to try to capitalize on like the new season start.
Yeah.
So I want people to think, I know exactly what Ben wants. I can give him what he wants. And that's why I made the trades. So if we want to go into it now, happy to.
Well, I
forgot even what it was, to be honest.
Let's definitely hop in. I got the list so we can go one by one here.
Yeah.
And before we do too, like, I think it's interesting that like we opened up the trading and I had no idea the flurry was going to happen like this. Right. It's been quiet since, but like those first 2 days, it was like trade, a few hours later, trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of interesting that you shut down trades after the trade deadline for a little bit. And before you know it, people are just making moves like crazy to start the offseason.
Yes. Yeah. It was insane, man. It was ridiculous.
First trade, Aaron Jones, you trade him away and you get the Luth on your team plus John Canellis's 2023 first.
Yep.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
And from an outsider's perspective, and again, we're giving our opinion here. I don't mean to slight anyone, but I'm going to tell you what I think, what side I would rather have. And for this, I was like, I thought you'd maybe get a 1 for Aaron Jones based on the fact that AJ Dillon emerged. It's going to be a split backfield. There's uncertainty still with Aaron Rodgers, but even more so on that date.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, okay, he'll probably get next year's first for Aaron Jones. But the topper and the cherry on top for me was getting Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah.
Who arguably had a better season than Kyle Pitts this year. I know Pitts had all the yardage, but he was the only guy there. Yeah. So like Muth to me is a starting tight end going forward, young. So you get a young starting tight end, which was a position of need for you, plus the 2023 first, which I know is your draft, and we're going to get into here.
We are, yeah. So exactly. I was afraid Aaron Jones' usage going forward. That was the biggest thing. And that's why I added him to the menu, because I said, you know what? I think he could be fine next year, right? He could finish his RB 14, 15, right? Mm-hmm. And just be extremely useful, solid PPR guy, which is huge. In our half-point PPR, you need those targets. He's going to get those targets. There's no question with the talent brand, right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody questions Aaron Jones like he's bad now. No, that's not
right.
It's the uncertainty with the Green Bay freaking Packers, who I question. Thank God it's LaFleur, right? That's a coach.
Yeah.
Thank God they have him as coach, man, because he's underrated. He just keeps bringing that team to winning seasons. I understand how important Aaron Rodgers is, but like he is actually like a decent coach.
I mean, he's gotten like 13 wins or so like every year.
Every year.
Consistency is insane.
And he just like he had huge injuries to their defense. So anyways, but I didn't know who was going to reach out to me for these players. I had ideas in my head. And then when John reached out to me, I realized, Packers fan.
Yeah. Lambeau Leap,
Packers fan. And he's asking about it. And I did say, I think my ask was like a first. So if it was like very early on, I'm like, all right, if you want this, John, give me a first and Freiermuth, because I believe John has, I'm going to John's team right now.
He has Knox and Kelsey.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He was on his taxi, I think. So, you look at that and you're like, all right, he's fine. Kelsey can be effective the next 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, he may not be tight end 1, but he's still playable. Like, he's even playable the next 3 years, probably. So, and you got Knox, who's like a very good,
up and coming with Josh Allen.
Receiving, exactly. Josh Allen's ascending. Everyone around him will get better. He's receiving. He is Evan Ingram. He's that mold, right?
Yeah.
He's the exact same thing. So when I made that trade, I was very happy because I'm like, I freaking love Pat Fryer. He's a mass guy. I think he's from Marblehead, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Dude, he's a mass guy.
Wow.
Yeah, or Newberry, somewhere up North Shore. Might not be Marblehead, but he's a mass guy, underrated in the draft because Kyle Pitts got all the attention. But he was really good. I think Penn State. I think Penn State, he dominated. Like, he played really freaking well, and he was just good blocker. He's on the field. I forget if the baller said it, but you want tight ends that are going to be on the field.
Yeah. And
can block too, because they're just receiving options. They will be taken off the field for stuff. And if the more Freiermuth was on, look at what Big Ben did, right? He was horrendous. And Freiermuth still catching balls in the end zone from him. It's like, you see that and you're like, that's promising tight end. So that, Freiermuth, Cole Kmet, who's kind of, I feel can grow with Justin Fields, athletic tight end. Like, between those two, I got Njoku and Johnny Smith, but like, whatever, between those four, I should be able to do something. Right. In the 2023 draft, I'll talk about that at the end, but like, the first round pick was important. And I don't care who it really is right now. We only have 10 teams in this league, right? So if you think about it, usually they're 12 team leagues in Dynasty Tech generally. It's top 10 pick in the draft. John could have injury, bad luck, and just like plummet in this playoff. Like, it could happen to anybody.
You don't know.
You lose 2 quarterbacks, you lose a quarterback, and it just kills you. So it's just, I will take that pick, and that's why I got rid of Aaron Jones too. The return was great. I didn't believe in Aaron Jones going forward, but just usage, and he's getting a little, I think he's 27,
27 years old right now.
27,
Speaking on the usage I have I love the history tab on Sleeper. Just has everything there for you.
It literally all I want, Brand, I think is the only thing I think they could add is where they were drafted by the actual team. Wouldn't that be huge? Like, just tell me year,
that'd be massive.
round number. Like, just tell me that, because
contract status too, like
that
years remaining.
Sleeper is the best. Like, now that I know how to use it, it's by far the best fantasy provider that I've been on. That's thank you, Sleeper.
Yeah. Hashtag not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Hashtag no sponsors. But you look at the carry count here for Aaron Jones, and the yards per carry is healthy. It continues to be. But
of course.
2019, 236 carries. 2020, 201 carries. 2021, 171 carries.
Right.
So he's really relying on the receiving volume. And his receiving touchdowns this year, like if you go 19, 3, 2, and then 6 this year. So it's a matter of, obviously still an explosive player. If he's playing with Aaron Rodgers, he's going to get enough receiving volume to be a top 15 guy, like you said. But I definitely understand with the emergence of AJ Dillon, he's not the top 8 player I think he's been the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, is that LaFleur's like, oh yeah, we drafted this kid, we should probably use him. So that's why like Jordan Love time's coming. eventually here, even if it's, another year of Rodgers. But yeah, man, that was my thought in the whole thing. And like I said, I was selling with the menu, so he was part of it, and John was in on it early on. And I think for John, because John has Dylan too, right?
John B has Dylan, and John Canellos has Aaron Jones now.
Okay, so yeah, and I understand he's loading up. He should.
Yeah.
With it, he's not as old as Mark, as we all know. Mark's the elderly statesman, which we will get to very shortly, of a team. And then John's like, he has a couple young guys, but he's like right below that. There's there's guys who are reaching 30, but his window's now. So I give him credit for going in. I think he paid a fair price in terms of like current production, because Aaron Jones was an RB1. I think he finished his RB. He
was 12 or 13 when I was looking at it.
Low end
RB1. Yeah.
Like that's what you got to pay, right? That's just, and he's still young. He's not like he's 30. So I think that's a fair, and he had depth at tight end. So I like my return. I like John's play on this.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was focusing on your side of it, but from John's side, I think it's a good trade for John too, because he needs to buy in. This is his window, and like
capitalize on the window.
You don't really care as much about draft picks when it's your window, because like that's what you're playing for. You're playing for the championships, and like he had the load up, and I think he made a great decision here to get one. I mean, of the available players, Aaron Jones is probably one of the better ones on the market.
Yes, 100%. So, and that's if you want to go in and you don't know, if you want to load up and you don't know what's going to be available at the trade deadline, because it could all be crap. Like I bought everything that was available, right? I went to all. You, Jimmy, Tam, like I went to, and John B even, like I looked at their roster and I said, okay, who's old, who's not needed, what can I get for that? And that's why I bought before everyone else. And that's why I tried to load up, but I got hit with injuries, right? So it's the way it happens, but yeah, I get it. I do get it.
Well, this next one, and this would have been funny to do a month ago, because I would have lit Mark up, but it makes a little bit more sense now.
Yeah,
you put Matt Stafford on the block, and I remember your ask at the time was basically like 2023 1. That was a very common theme throughout the menu.
Yeah,
and I remember we were talking, and I was like, I don't know, Ben, I don't know if you can get a 1 for Stafford, like because I personally wouldn't,
yeah, right.
And then I wouldn't have been surprised if I saw Edwin or Alex or even like a John B or even Jimmy, who doesn't really have quarterback depth. I thought those teams would be sniffing around.
Yep.
Instead, it was Mark who sniffed around. And at the time, it's Brady, Mac Jones, Justin Herbert. I thought, I was like, wow, that was like the biggest shock to me right away.
When he reached out, when people were reaching out, I wasn't even thinking about their side of it. I was like, okay, what can I get? And I literally go to click on John's, Logan's awake, short nap. I wasn't even thinking about it from his side, and like, why is Mark reaching out to me? I just went to the roster because he offered the 1.
Yeah.
And I did what it did with John. I said, okay, who is young? Who can I take a shot on?
Yeah.
And he offered, you know what? I can't even remember what wide receiver he offered. I really don't even remember, but I
probably Will Fuller.
Something, I don't even remember the name. But I wanted Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Because he showed something with the Texans, right? Like, that's what I was looking at, being like, okay, that this kid could do something. He was a decent prospect from, I think, Michigan, deep threat guy, bigger, speed. So I saw that and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And he accepted, and I was thrilled, because here's my concern about Stafford. And this is actually very relevant right now today.
Yeah.
As you told me, because I didn't even know this, McVay's putting out whispers of like, I might walk away.
Yeah.
Which is scary, because that team is built to win right now. Like right now, there is no draft picks on that team.
Yeah.
Everyone is getting paid. And it's scary when you think long-term. Like that team in 3 years, Brand, could be in serious trouble. The LA Rams. They could be irrelevant.
They're Mark. They are Mark
in
our dynasty league.
They are. There could be. I mean, there's young Aaron Donald's a stud, like Jalen Ramsey's a stud, but they got a lot of money for a little bit older guys, and it's very much, I think, a house of cards in a couple of years. I think they need to win now. McVay needs to walk away and like do the old Sean Payton, like, nope, not dealing with this. I was worried about Stafford's health overall because there was that like midseason report. Remember he wasn't playing well and he had some down weeks.
Oh, I remember.
Like the back, the shoulder, like like the prep he needs to go into in order to get healthy enough to play every week. I just remember reading about that because excuses started to come out, and he's older. He's like 36, 30, 36, 37, something like that.
I think he's 37. Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
34, actually. 34.
Okay, so much younger than I thought. He feels like it. But like, I look at that and then the whispers of him like wanting to be with his family more, right? You start getting these smoke, fire type of signals. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to get out. And quarterback in our league is so damn important for the double flex. Why am I
the super flex?
Super flex. The super flex. You need two quarterbacks. You have to every week.
Yeah.
Because even a bad quarterback can get like 15 points.
They're getting double digits.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I know about this. Okay. So that's why it's super important. And Mark, I was a little confused because I'm like, why are you doing this? But now it makes, because Brady walking away, huge role. Because Mac is in this, he doesn't run a lot, and who knows if he's going to be like an elite thrower, kind of like Herbert.
Yeah.
So that's in question, in flux, and now Stafford at least could plug that Brady hole, because Stafford was QB7, I think, something around that way.
He was up there this year.
He did really well. That team was
QB5.
That's really freaking useful, and that's why I drafted him, because I thought him and Allen, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, my core also includes Justin Jefferson. Really forgot I had him. So that's kind of a big name to go with. Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, Gabriel Davis. So you have that picture now painted. He had a really good year with the Rams, as everyone thought he would. But if too old for me, I want to clean house. I want to draft a quarterback in 2023. I got Josh Allen's my stud for the future, but I got Minshew and Baker and Taysom Hill. By the way, that was a secondary deal later on.
We won't spend much time on that one.
AJ Green for Taysom Hill. Like, I've had a quarterback slot. It worked out that way, reshuffling between Mark and I. So whatever, it's a crap deal. But that's why I had to get out. I was a little worried about the injuries. He's not going to be. I don't need him next year, right? Yeah. I might need him in 2 years, maybe. But like,
if he's still around.
He's still around. So I want to capitalize on his value. Mark has to go in, right?
Yeah.
Has to go in. And quarterback is the most important position with Superflex. It really is. You have to have if you have two good quarterbacks, you're competing every week.
Yeah.
And with, he got Herbert and Stafford now?
Herbert, Stafford, Mac. Yep.
Mac is perfect. That is perfect for him. So I don't blame him at all. Nico Collins is like, he's not even in a starting lineup, so it's not really worth it for him. I can throw Nico on my taxi squad for this year and see if it works out, So I thought it made sense now. Like looking at it now, back when we did the trade, it was a little suspect, but I think Mark.
Back when we did the trade, I still thought Brady was going to play another year, and I'm like, Mark, what are you doing? Like, and if you look at Mark's roster, he's old everywhere, and it was like you could have used a positional player, a running back, a receiver depth.
When he said yes, that's what I go, dude. You should have went after running back, wide receiver. But now he was right.
Now it makes sense.
Because if he came to me now to trade for Stafford, as Stafford's going into the Super Bowl and Brady's gone and he's screwed, I would have been like, yeah, you're going to need to pay a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing Nico Collins anymore. We're might be shooting a little higher here.
Yeah.
Maybe throwing in a second in the 2022 or a third or something. So yeah, I really would have shaken him down. So yeah. Again, another good trade that worked out, but very risky at the time.
Because to your point too, like, and I feel like you have to get really lucky if you only have two starting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because of the bye weeks too, but not just that. Like, if one of those guys gets hurt, all of a sudden you're out of contention. So it's like, done.
Those weeks are good luck. Good luck winning those weeks.
And this is, a subject for another podcast, but there's a lot of teams out there that only have 2 quarterbacks and are hoping to compete. And it's like, okay, that sounds great on paper, in the offseason, it looks great, but you better have a third guy or something to mix in during the season.
Well, that's why
really want to compete.
And as we're doing the four active roster QB rule, it's very important to fill those 4 spots. Like you need to fill those. Like that's why I have Gardner Minshew on my bench, because he could go to Washington, right? The Commanders. Yeah. And he could be the starter. And all of a sudden, like Tyler Heineke's like, okay, yeah, he is not good. Like we've determined that when Terry McLaurin does that poorly and Heineke's just chucking the ball up and doing hero ball, and everyone figured him out. He got on tape, everyone figured him out. It was like, he's not good. Gardner is at least functional. Like he won games on an extremely bad Jacksonville Jaguars team. I'm a huge Gardner Minshew fan. Jimmy's gonna laugh at this if he even watches it, because I am a huge Gardner. I wanted Gardner on the Pats. If they didn't draft,
I did too.
Yeah. I told you this. I wanted Gardner on the Pats, development quarterback. He cost nothing when Philly traded for him, and I was blown away. I'm like, he's actually functional.
He's operational. Like he's better than a lot of the stuff out.
He's pretty accurate, and like he's got some athletic abilities, but Mac's our guy. So another day. But that's why Taysom Hill too. I take, and I know he's dealing with a foot injury. Who freaking knows what that team looks like? But 4 QBs on the starting roster is important because, as you said, you have to fill those 2 slots in your starting lineup. Have to. And if one goes down, you're screwed for that week.
I don't understand. There's at least a handful of teams that are sitting there with 3 quarterbacks right now. And I'm like, add Mason Rudolph, add freaking Dwayne Haskins. He could be the starter for like the Steelers next year. Like it's just like, I'd rather hold somebody in the 4th spot and take a chance they move versus like, running back 11 on my team or receiver like 12. Like who cares?
I don't need, and I have droppable receivers on my roster who are like throwaway guys. Like I could give crap. Like if I decide to trade back into this draft, which I may, depending on this, I may jump in. This is a very interesting draft. And I know me and you don't want to give away any of our thoughts. I mean, I could, because I have no picks. So it's anyways, that trade with Mark worked out for him and me, and that's what I wanted going forward. Yeah.
Quick aside on giving stuff away. I'm not sure if you watched the full Senior Bowl. At one point, they interviewed Dan Campbell on the sideline, and he had to stop himself because he just kept like, they're like, "What do you think of Malik Willis?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's a lot of guys, but we do like him." It was just hilarious.
You can't. You don't want to give anything away.
You can see the GM just pulling
exactly.
Away.
You're like, no, don't say it. Brand, we have a special guest.
Oh, let's go.
Special guest.
Logan. What's up, buddy? What's up?
Say hi, Brandon.
How's it going?
Welcome
to the podcast.
Looks like he has red hair. Doesn't it? He does not have red hair. No, nothing wrong with red hair, but I think it's light brown. Very pale.
Hey, buddy.
Say hi.
So adorable.
Minutes. Yeah.
What do you think of Daddy's trades?
You like my trades? Yeah. Dada. You say mama, dada. Yeah. Logan's my inspiration, every week. It's all for Logan, right, bud?
The team mascot.
Kate's rolling her eyes. Yeah.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Brand. Sorry, bud. It's okay. We just wanted Mama brought you down to be in the show. Hi.
I love the guests. Always welcome on the show.
Always welcome, Bubba.
Big star.
Yeah. So we can talk about the draft a little bit. And I know that the 3rd trade with you and me.
Yeah, we're now up to us. We're gonna skip the AJ Green Taysom Hill.
That's
just kind of a funny
too many quarterbacks. I didn't need an old broken wide receiver. And he could be useful. He was actually okay. I think he was wide receiver 3, maybe low line wide receiver 3 this year. Maybe wide receiver 4, but he's useful for Mark. Mm-hmm. I get it. And he had Taysom, so we swapped out. But you and I.
Yep. So we had 2 trades. And because one's not even showing up on the league, Melvin Gordon for 2020.
Oh, yeah. That is
a 2023 second rounder.
Yes. Yes.
So I sent you a 2023 second from Melvin Gordon straight away.
Yep. You were on it. You were on it.
We had discussed the menu. There's no tampering laws in the league.
No tampering. No tampering.
So I knew Melvin Gordon was going up for a second round pick. And coincidentally, John B did as well, because we're chatting on the side.
Right.
And as a team looking to make a jump into being a contender, Melvin Gordon, he rated really well on PFF this year.
He had a
good season.
He was an RB2. I believe he was an RB2. RB21, something like that. Like, I think that's what he finished.
He was right around, and I'll bring it up, but
I mean, too. Keep going.
He had a pretty good year, and like all the metrics look good. And honestly, if you watch the Broncos, he was more explosive than Javonte Williams. I know it's not a popular take, but he had the bigger plays than Javonte did. Javonte broke a lot of tackles, but he started to slow down as the season went on. But regardless, I was like, a second round pick, if I'm looking to contend, I'll ship it off. Melvin Gordon's a free agent. If he lands somewhere and is the guy, like in a Mike Davis type role, all of a sudden I'm looking at a high end too. He
finished RB22 in PPR, RB22.
While splitting time down the middle with Javonte Williams. So I was like, I see the floor as he ends up with the Broncos. He has the split work again. Probably has a similar year to last year. Maybe the rushing volume's down. He's a low end two, but he's a flex guy. And I got it for a second round pick.
Brand, he ran for 920 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4.5 a carry, 28 receptions, 200 yards, 2 TDs. Like, solid.
He still has juice.
Still has juice.
And he's 28 years old, but he's been splitting time almost his entire career. You look back at Austin Eckler, now Javonte Williams. So like, I think when you split time, kind of like a la back in the day, D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart type thing, your body lasts a little bit longer. The age doesn't matter as much as a guy. I got Zeke,
Yeah. And he's got some injury. I mean, he stayed relatively healthy all year.
Yeah.
He did pretty well. He was in a lot of games. He was really helpful for my team. Like, he was just a good contributor and nobody wanted him, right? Because Edwin, hint, Javonte is probably a first round pick in a startup dynasty right now. He's probably a second round pick, like absolutely locked in second round pick.
He'll probably be if Melvin doesn't go back,
he will be.
He's going to go in the first round.
He was. Yeah. I thought of him as the same as Najee, which is I saw this tweet, Brand, last night. I was going to send it to you. Alexander Madison and Najee Harris are the same age.
Wow.
Can you think about that?
That's wild.
Because I know Najee's a little older, but yeah, I view Javonte same level. I remember how much love he was getting at UNC, and like I just casually look at highlights and kind of get my feel for these guys, and then I try to read up people who are much more knowledgeable than me. And he's the same. He's a phenomenal runner, and he's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
But Melvin Gordon could go. It depends on where he lands, Brand. Like, if he goes to Buffalo, great. You're in a great spot. But if someone else, like if Denver's like, you know what, we're gonna draft someone else. You know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna pay you. We need Rodgers money. That could happen, right? If they trade for him, they don't have the money. So he goes to a middling team. Like, say he goes to Falcons.
I don't hate it if no one else is there. It depends on who else is there, because volume is king, number one. Right, and then if you don't have volume, you have to be on a good team, or you're just the Denver Broncos and Vic Fangio says we're running it 600 times this season.
Right. Right. So it's really it's a good trade for you, because you're going to be able to contend, and he's going to be a good depth running back. That's what you need, a good depth running back. And I don't need him next year. Yeah. And then he's going to be 30, right?
He's not going to help you by the time you're back
2 years,
in contention.
It doesn't make sense. And he's not worth first round pick. And maybe I could have, the risk was me holding on to him, and he goes to a shit team. He does nothing. He's an RB3, and he's not worth the second round. No one wants to give me a second round. You know what I mean? So that's why I needed to just wash my hands, be like, yep, capitalize now.
I think it worked out based on your timing, and then based on me. My team didn't have the depth last year, and I drafted running backs in the startup. So I have a window that's right now with Nick Chubb, Swift, Saquon.
You do.
Like,
so
I have a now window,
play.
and I was trying to load up on depth. And I think the way I look at it, I've traded all my seconds, which is kind of funny. Some have been horrible, some have been good. But like, to me, like
Denzel Mims trade, Jimmy, shout out.
Yeah, that was early on in the dynasty before you know the value of the pick. But clearly my strategy in general is like, if I can get a guy I like for a second rounder, I'm not hesitating to pull the trigger.
Like, no, do it because it's not. I mean, that's after 10 guys are gone off the board in our league, and you don't know where in the second they're going to fall. And it's a developmental guy, a little bit of a dart throw. Got to get lucky.
Yeah.
In that second round. So, well, moving on to a late night text you sent me. Hey, I'm interested in Ridley, because Ridley was on the board. I didn't know if anyone would do this, and I figured like you might sniff around, or someone who's like higher on Ridley.
Yeah.
Because dude, Ridley was like my third round pick, Brand. He looked really high.
He's a stud when he plays, and he had some youth. 26, 20. Like now he's 27. So he's a little older than people think.
Yeah.
But
like that's the thing. He is a little older than you think.
Going into this past season, it was like Ridley could be the receiver one. Some people had that thought. Like he was going early second round redraft.
That's who I thought, okay, this is the guy I'm going to get. Because he was wide receiver 5 in PPR last year.
Yeah.
27 the year before in 2019, and then 22 in 2018. And that was with Julio around, and he was like a rookie, right?
Yeah.
But why did I trade him? Why is he off my team? I am, from my perspective, I am nervous about Calvin Ridley. I give him whatever you need to do for your mental health, that's fine. But like, let's view this in fantasy football world, right? If a guy just walks away from his team and the coach says nothing all year, no idea, like, and then after the season is like, yeah, we don't know, I start getting nervous. Like, and then the trade reports, right? Like they may be moving on from Calvin Ridley. I'm like, he's like a top 10 wide receiver.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, right. Talent wise.
When talent wise, and when he's like playing, now he did not. Something was obviously going on.
Yeah,
and that's Brand. That's all. There's a lot more to this story that is not coming out, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he had substance issues or something, and he just had to like stop and walk away. But then the trade was weird because I think it came from him. Like there was a quote from him, I think, about like moving on or something. And it wasn't just like the third party reports of the Falcons want to move on. It was like something from Calvin. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like it was just so weird. So I thought someone like you or someone might be like, okay, I'm going to take a shot at the talent. Now, Brant, I don't know what's going to happen with him. So if I'm left holding, like, imagine if he, I don't know, doesn't play in the beginning, doesn't report to camp.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm like, oh God, I'm holding the bag on this guy. But I get it from your perspective too, and you can talk about what you were looking at. But I just didn't. Again, I'm selling. I will talk about the 23 draft shortly. I didn't know I didn't think he was going to help me next year, and I just don't want to be holding any valuable asset that I think could go down in the near future. I don't want to be holding that for my team. So that's how I looked at this.
Yeah. And to summarize, I know we haven't quite said the trade, but it was basically Calvin Ridley. 2023 one.
Yes.
And Terrace Marshall was thrown in there. Like,
correct. Because you had
developmental dart throw wide receiver
on my taxi squad, Brandon. He did. Yep. On my taxi squad. If I could cut him tomorrow. You know what I mean? That was just kind of a throw in. He was a high second round pick.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So for me, the Ridley deal, I think I look back at the startup draft, and my biggest regret was going running back heavy early on. And I didn't build the receiver depth. Like I have Terry McLaurin, but after McLaurin, I don't really have much after that.
Right.
And so I was like, I need a receiver too. That was my biggest target this offseason.
Yeah. Yep.
And quite frankly, like the next best available was like Amari Cooper. And I wasn't going to give up a next year's first for Amari Cooper either.
Older injuries. I get it. Yeah.
And so we started talking on Ridley, and it was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to pretend I know what's going on. Like, and that's the thing. And it's a risk. And like, to me, if Ridley announced tomorrow he's coming back, right? All of a sudden I got great value on.
Good value.
Very good value. Never give him up for next year's first.
No,
but if he never plays again, I'm stuck holding the bag. So you can kind of see like, this is what fantasy is. And this is what some people I don't think get about trades. Like, there's uncertainty. Like, that's how you get true value in a trade, is you have to make your bet on a side of a coin when you make it, you know.
And there's no winner until time goes by. Like, you have no idea. You know, it's not instant like win lot. No, you have no idea. In some way, a trade at first could look like, what the hell is Mark doing? Why is he trading for Stafford? He's like, now it looks much better. You know what I mean? So it's just, but you know, who knows? Stafford wins the Super Bowl and he retires after the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Then all of a sudden
it's like, are you kidding me? So it didn't make sense for me, Brand, because Calvin Ridley could come back and be good. But that doesn't really help my team because I don't have the depth to like compete. I have no running backs, everyone. I have no running backs. I have Cordero Patterson, there's going to be an updated menu when we get closer to training camp. But Cordero Patterson and Brandon Cooks are very much available. And I'm even looking to package those two for like a 1. And I think a contender will look at that. If you know, through free agency in the draft, if Cordero's still the guy in Atlanta, he's going to be an RB2 and he's flex guy. He can, you know, he's a running back, which is very valuable, and wide receiver. So it's between that and Brandon Cooks being actually a good player.
Yeah.
That's where I say someone who's going to contend is going to fuck it. I'm going to send a 1 to Ben to get rid of these two. So I'm still getting rid of those guys, but I wanted to get rid of any downside with the Ridley trade for you.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming back to full circle.
Well, it's already funny because the day after we made the trade, there was a report from Steve Weich of NFL Network. And
yes, it was like the next day.
It was like, oh, like, I think they might trade him. And I was like, shit, like, holy crap, this is great. Well, but then like from that point through now, it's been radio silence. And the longer it's radio silence, the more uneasy I feel. You know,
Brand, like there's no Calvin Ridley has talked with the team and looks forward to returning to minicamp. You know what I mean? Like you don't even have a little blurb like that. Like, so that's why I just had no idea what was going on. And that's why you probably listen to the Ballers, because they brought it up a couple of times of like, they don't know what to do with Ridley, right? They're like, you kind of have to wait, but you don't know if you sell or buy. It's very much you make your bet and you see what happens.
I was laughing because Jason Moore was like, I'd give up a 2 for Ridley. And Mike Wright just laughed in his face. He's like, yeah, I'm sure you would. Like, no one's taking a 2 for Ridley. Like,
no shot.
Like, if you're going to take your shot, you have to
buy it. You have to buy it.
That's what I did. And I'm like, you do start to feel uneasy. Yes. And I know like Arthur Smith, the coach at the Senior Bowl, said no update. No update.
Brand, like, that's what those reports from during the year when he was like, there's no update. I'm like, it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
It's been 2 months and you have no update on the guy. Like, has anyone talked to him? So, you know, so that's why I was like, you know, and I was so pissed because I'm like, that was my 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Like, he was and that's why I just cashed out. I'm like, I'll take my shot in the future. You know what I mean? And like, I'll just cash it in now.
I don't blame you for drafting him that high. I mean, receiver 5, Julio Jones is out of town.
Ascending, like number 1.
Ascending prime receiver, like in a dynasty is worth so much.
Yeah, so. And that's why it was tough. But time will tell with that one.
It will. And I one more thing to add on it. Arthur Blank, I think it was a few days ago, actually like made some additional comments at the Super Bowl, the owner of the Falcons.
Okay.
And like a couple of the highlights from what he said is the team has not been in contact with him. The team is not allowed to be in contact with him. He didn't really clarify that. Whoa. So like, I don't know what that means. And he said like, we would welcome him back if he decides to play. Well, so I'm paraphrasing. We would welcome him back if that's what he wants. And then he hinted like, whether it's here or elsewhere, would love to see like, so some of the comments are like, I don't know what's going on. And then he finally hinted, he's like, at the end, it was like, his representatives know we need to know something by free agency or the draft so we can like react.
It sounds like his lawyers are the intermediary or agent.
They are,
like So I have no idea, man. I don't know what's going on.
I don't either.
And hope he's okay. Like,
that's the biggest thing.
Human being, it's like, that just doesn't sound good. So we'll see, Brand. He could come back by minicamp. He could be a very good wide receiver for you. It's just going to take time.
Leave it to us to engage in a high stakes game of chicken here.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like,
right.
Let's throw a first round pick down and see what happens.
That's why you did it. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm out. But the reason, Brand, why 22 draft is coming up, right?
Yeah.
It's coming up. It's rookie drafts is going to be this summer, and then the real draft is late April. Combines in 2 weeks. The reason why I punted to 23 is because, and I will be very general about this because I have no picks, and you don't have to say your takes, Brand. I've given you my thoughts on certain players, but this is and I'm sure if you guys are reading about this, this is like the worst quarterback class in a long time. There's a lot of guys, but there's not a lot of high-end developmental talent, I should say. I'm being a little vague, but everyone talks about like Kenny Pickett, right? Just a glove hand, who's out of Pittsburgh. Malik Willis, he's like the next Lamar Jackson, but kind of yoked up. And he's very fast, but he played at Liberty, and he plays hero ball and makes stupid mistakes sometimes after making ridiculously good plays.
Yeah. Perfect for
and
fantasy.
They have Corral out of Ole Miss who runs literally RPOs every freaking play, and that's it. One read guy, like that's it. That's all. What's his face? Is it Lane? Lane's the head coach down at Ole Miss. That's all he did. Sam Howell, who had a great 2020 with UNC when he had all that talent. Devontae Williams, Michael Williams, De'Ami Brown. Then he sucked this past year and was like a really good runner, which is not what you want to hear from a quarterback. And they have Carson Strong out of Nevada, who's got like 9 screws in his knee. Like there's just like Mac Jones would be the number for context. He'd be the number 1 pick out of all these guys. Yeah. Mac Jones would probably go top 3 in this draft. Like Sam Darnold was more highly regarded compared to this entire class, just for context about what the media and like PFF says. So it's an iffy quarterback class. Running back class has some solid players, but no like stud, like there's no Najee, Saquon, Zeke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes sense. There are some good players, and it really depends on where they end up, but there's no automatic studs, I guess. There's some solid players that could help contribute in year 1, but it's going to be iffy. There might not be a lot of guys that contribute year 1, Brand.
Yeah.
Tight end class, there's one guy, Trey McBride.
Yeah.
That's it. As like, there's a couple guys for depth pieces for teams, like good blocking guys who might develop in the receiving options, but Trey McBride.
Ruckert from Ohio State too.
Yes. Yeah. So, those are like the 2, and like, it's not a very deep for fantasy football tight end class. Wide receiver class is very, very good. And there's like 6 guys that we've talked about that are going to go in the top, 70, top 3/4 of our draft. Those guys will all be gone. So I looked at all of this, just the general vibe. And I know there's going to be the 2023 draft, everything changes, but I looked at that class and said, I need a secondary quarterback. I don't want any quarterbacks in this draft. I don't need wide receivers. I need running backs. So I've read on what's going to come out in the 23 draft, which is a seemingly stronger draft, and I've decided to punt. That is why I'm punting. And I don't need these guys for next season as well. So that's why I said I don't need 2022. 2023 makes much more sense for me. And that's why I've been asking for all 2023 picks. Now, I may try to trade back into the draft, maybe in the late 1st or early 2nd, if there's a guy that I like, and there's like, hey, I have Cordero Patterson to a contender, and I say, you want Cordero? Give me your 2nd right now. And someone might be like, yeah, screw it. I don't know who any of these guys are. Like, yeah, like, I don't know anyone. So there could be trades that come around, but that was my thought process of going to the 23 draft instead of targeting the 22 draft. So I could be wrong. Could be very wrong, but that's just what I've been trying to read and get my feelings on guys, and 23 draft for me. So this 2022 is going to be a painful year for the Fatty Cats.
Yeah. A designed painful year. But to add some more context too, listen to some podcasts like Dane Brugler on The Athletic. Like he describes this draft of like most drafts have like the blue chip guys at the top. You like your top 10 picks are usually blue chip type guys. He said, imagine like a normal draft, except remove the top 10 to 15 guys. And then that's what this draft is. And he said they're a little deeper from like the second tier first rounders, like the 15 to the 32. There's more of those guys than in normal drafts. But he said there's no Jamar Chase. No, there's no Micah Parsons.
No Myles Garrett.
Yeah, you know there's none of those like top blue chip guys.
Chase Young, like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Now, I will say people do just, and this isn't even fancy football really, but you're right, because I even listened to who's going to be the number one pick, right? Like who's going to go
it's all over overall.
And it's really going to be like, it could be a tackle or it could be like a defensive end.
Yeah.
That's really, you know, it's Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, and he's a big white dude. But he's not JJ Watt, or that's what people he's not a Bosa or a Watt. Like that's what people say. He's a good pass rusher, not really great in the run game. Mm-hmm. That's your number one overall pick potentially. And then Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon, super athletic, could be, the ceiling is just sky's the limit with that kid, and he has all the traits. And that's what people have said. He's the closest to like a Myles Garrett. He's insanely athletic, but people question his desire for football. Mm-hmm. He talks about life after football, and that freaks teams out because they're like, wait a second, you don't think about football all the time? Like Myles Garrett wants to be an archaeologist or something. Like, so that's really the two guys in front, and there's a couple tackles, but like there's not, you know, any like, oh my God, I need to have this player. You know, that's you're right. I like that analogy though, from kind of analysis from the athletic guy, because it makes sense. But there are still some very good wide receiver prospects. You know, that's like the meat of those top 7 picks in this draft. For me, that's how I look at this. I don't have any picks, right? So I can kind of give
trying to move the market a little bit.
It's like the top like 7, 8, but it's gonna be interesting where our league takes these quarterbacks, because there are a number of them. There's like 5 guys that could go in the top in 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. You know, that's very possible. I think that will happen. 5 guys will go in the first 2 rounds. And you know, it's interesting how everyone's going to react to that, because I love the draft. I loved the drafts with Jimmy. Jimmy and I always looked at the guys for the Patriots, you know, and we'd go back and forth. So I love looking at everything, and I listen to a couple different podcasts and try to prep and read up on it. Combine's coming up, so that's gonna be really exciting. But yeah, I think overall, I wasn't gonna be able. My first round pick, I don't think would have been in a great spot for me to take someone I really liked. Maybe like a wide receiver. I think I would have gotten a decent wide receiver prospect in my first. You know, but that's it, man. I mean, that's why I'm kind of moving from this draft to that draft, and that 2023 is nothing's guaranteed, but I should be in the top 3 picks with my first rounder. Hopefully I can get a good quarterback. And then with the other 3 first rounders I have right now, wherever they end up, I'm just going to try to fill spots, running back and wide receiver, and just keep stacking the lineup. So, and as I said, I'm still looking for more first round picks with a Cordero Patterson, Brandon Cooks package, which I hope will come, you know, closer to the season. I'll even throw Bobby Woods in there. If we want to package those 2 up. Brandon Cooks and Bobby Woods for a first rounder sounds pretty nice brand for a contender. Just saying.
Supposed to be returning by minicamp potentially. He says.
I'm just saying, Brand, that could be a nice little package for somebody going, oh my God, I can get 2 for 1 here, and I don't do it. Pull the trigger. Boom. So we'll see. We will see.
Well, before we wrap this up, I have to do one plug for Jimmy.
Yes.
If there is one elite player in this draft at their position, it's supposed to be Kyle Hamilton at safety.
Yes, he is a special prospect.
Yeah. Yep. So we will throw that out there for him.
He's like, Brain, I think he's like 6'2", I think, and like 220, or like he's huge. He is the safety, as you said, out of Notre Dame. I'm just looking up. He's 6'4", 220. I'm sorry. He can play. This kid is unbelievable.
He can cover tight ends.
He literally, he's unbelievable. Like, he can play deep safety. Like, he can be Devin McCourty. at 6'4", 220, because he has the speed, instincts, and smarts to play the deep free safety, or he can play in the box in the Kyle Duggar role and like stop the run. Like he can be that strong. He can be strong free. He's a chess piece. He's what everyone looked at JOK last year. What the hell's his name?
Jeremiah
Owusu Koromoa.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He was like a safety, but like he was a linebacker, but he was a smaller linebacker, and you can just move him around as a little chess piece. Kyle Hamilton is a better version of him, but he's more of safety, and he's a stud.
Yeah.
PFF loves him. He might be the number one player in this class, but no one takes safeties that high. He will be a top 6 pick, and he's going to be people.
That's really high for a safety.
Yeah, and people have mocked him to the Texans because they literally have no one. And apparently he's like a great dude and a locker room leader. Like that's the king of your defense. That's the guy. You kind of bring him.
He's also Jimmy's
like
pick.
The guy.
He's going to be the 102 in our draft. Jimmy's just going to lose it.
He's just, I need a safety. Yeah. Maybe we'll convert him to a tight end or something. Yeah.
He'd be the best offensive player.
Yeah. Kyle Hamilton is the guy, though. He is like the blue chip guy, but it's just a position that's not usually viewed as like, it's not an edge, it's not a tackle. It's not a insanely good quarterback or like wide receiver, the highly valued positions. So it'll be good, man. That'll be fun to watch this 2022 draft, and we'll see how everything kind of works out with our rookie draft. I'm hoping, maybe a little barbecue at the Casa de Brand.
We'll be hosting.
That'll be a lot of fun. Do some trades, have some drinks, mix it up.
I'm planning on drafting from the float. I'm gonna have my iPad on the float, and I'm gonna be wheeling and dealing.
I'm gonna be there with my laptop, being like, hey, you want Cordell Patterson? Sneak into a second rounder right here. I know who I want.
Sliding into everyone's DMs with Cordell Patterson.
Everyone's like, who are you taking? I'm taking David Bell. Don't worry about it. You don't know who it is. That's fine.
You won't show up to the rookie draft with a Cordell Patterson jersey.
I would love to get an Atlanta black.
Yeah.
CPAT. He's like a great dude too. Cordell Patterson's a great dude. And I'm happy he had a great season. I'm telling you, Brandon Cooks, Bobby Woods, CPAT, put those two together for a first rounder. Someone is gonna come to me with that, brand. I would be a good trade for somebody who wants to compete now.
Yeah,
I am trying. And this is a last minute plug. I sent Alex a deal, Brandon Cooks for a first. I think it was Brandon Cooks and CPAT for a first. I think I've sent it to Alex, and I know he doesn't check his app because, like, I don't know, it's your brother. So like, it's been out there for like 2 weeks, and I'm just waiting for him to see it. Yeah. Like, I don't know. But for him, that adds depth, and he can compete next year if his quarterback situation works out. So, yeah, yes, sir.
Well, will be interesting to see. I do think could be part of your plug. You wear the jersey to the draft, and you're like, not only do you get CPAT, you get the jersey of your player on the spot CPAT. As part of the trade.
Might be worth the investment, Brand.
Yeah, we'll see. Might be.
We'll have to see.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you. I hope everyone enjoyed talking through the trades, talking through a little bit of the draft. We'll be back here at some point in the offseason to discuss more. And I look forward to Menu version 2. I'm a avid fan.
Yes, that will definitely come out closer, probably after the real NFL draft. Once, maybe this summer. I think before our rookie draft, I will have something like a month before. So maybe in July, I'll kind of put the menu out again. Everyone will have a feel for kind of what their team's looking like, what mini camp's looking like, and training camp. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, can't wait. Well, from the All Aboard podcast, thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next time.